Eamon O'Carroll, a theme leading into the playoffs was that this is an exciting time for everyone, yourself, the players, the club. How's that excitement now that you've got over that hurdle placed by Featherstone last weekend?
Yeah, we're really calm now. We understand we've got a job to do, and we're going to have to be very good at weekend, playing a quality opposition, and obviously the stakes are really high. So I think finding that balance between it, really enjoying the week, that's what I want the players to do. Really enjoy the week, and we're all eager to get to the game, but just making sure that we value every minute we are together. But ultimately, we've got a job to do, and we need to be professional.
Review of that Featherstone game, kind of guessing that was a good review with the boys.
Yeah, pretty good. Obviously, we were happy that we did some really good things there, and ultimately we won the game to get us into a semi-final. So really happy about that. But then there were periods in the game and parts that we needed to show that we're going to have to be much better at, or Toulouse will exploit.
Obviously, the last sort of 10 minutes, you did concede those tries. Does that kind of help you this weekend, reaffirming that you need to be on it for the full 80 minutes?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, we mentioned that as a group, just saying, although we're filthy that we conceded 2 tries late on by kicks. Ultimately, in big games, your last player defence and your last player offence is really important. So that's given us kind of a little bit of a kick up the backside and helps keep our feet firmly on the ground to know that we have to be better.
Are you happy with how your side dealt with that pressure that was applied by Featherstone at the weekend?
Yeah. Defensively, I thought we were sound. We have mentioned we thought we could have been a lot better in the ruck. I thought we were off a little bit there, and everything there where we feel we need to make improvements is going to be big for us in the weekend, because our ruck D is going to have to be really good, and now we take charge of tackles 1, 2 and 3 with Toulouse's backfield. So I didn't think we were up to our standard in those areas. Not a million miles off, but we know we can certainly be better.
In that game against Featherstone, it was certainly noticeable to myself, the body language from players, specifically Jordan, Lily, urging calmness during situations in that second half. Do you feel like the side are learning from their experiences earlier on this season?
Yeah, well, I think Geordie and Jazz both helped that, because they actually did less during the game, and that's something we've been speaking to Geordie about doing. He's got lots of energy, and we love him for that, but using that in different ways and helping the team and directing them a little bit more. And I thought he had probably his best game for the club this year, and Jazz certainly helped with that. So again, it's a good one. We reference during the week in these games the team that's the calmest and does the job to the best ability generally comes out on top, and I felt we did that.
Your reward for beating Featherstone is a trip to Toulouse on Sunday. How have you fit training around the travel plans for this fixture?
Yeah, not a lot's changed in terms of our preparation, which is great. I have to pass my thanks on to the club and the board for allowing us. We've managed to go down on the Friday now after training and stay over in Stansted, which is brilliant for us. It means we don't have an early morning and a long travel day, so we're really grateful for that. They're making sure that we can have the best preparation possible. So yeah, our preparation in terms of training at Tongue hasn't changed too much, which has been really good.
Part-time players, everybody able to travel? They've been allowed to get it off work?
Yeah, I don't think many had missed. There was a bit of an issue with the Monday coming back, but in the semi-final you won't stop any of the boys doing that. So we got that kind of nailed very early in the week to make sure that they were all set for a Monday off, and we're good to go now.
You've a large number of non-UK based players. Are the visas all clear, all okay for this weekend?
Yeah, looking good. So yeah, there's no kind of issues there. Tracy's worked tremendously hard to make sure all that's in place. It's very difficult. It was a good lesson for me. You can't kind of get clearance on that until you're going, because you have to have flights booked. So it leaves things very late in the day, and she's still working now to get a few over the line. But we're positive.
People might say, "Oh, it's Toulouse away, go and enjoy it," but logistically, there's a lot involved in organising the trip, certainly at such short notice to France.
Yeah, there is, but again, we're really lucky. I mentioned before the board have helped us there in terms of making sure that the prep and our travel is nailed. And again, yeah, I'm very lucky because I don't have to do too much with that. We've got some great people here who've, you know, Tracy, Catherine, everyone else, you know, there's probably too many for me to name there, so I apologise for anyone I've missed, but they kind of look after all that for me in the group so we can just focus on nailing our preparation, so I'm very lucky in that respect.
This one will feel a little bit different due to it being a Sunday evening kick-off and the side setting off on the Friday. How can you use that time together, you know, to your advantage, getting that balance right?
Yeah, I think that's not anything I have to really worry about because the group's really close. I think they're actually looking forward to it. It was brilliant last time we went, you know, just me sitting back with the staff and seeing the boys all connecting and doing the little bits and sticking together, whether that was playing cards, going for a coffee, you know, in the pool. We've got some things planned during the day to make sure that the time's used wisely because you ultimately still preparing for a game, you know, and that's that little bit of a different feel because you're not at home with your families, but I think it's a huge positive, and obviously I've done this type of travel a lot, so you know, selling it to the group to say that this is the best possible way for us to prepare. You know, it's been pretty easy. You know, they're all looking forward to it. You know, they don't see it as a negative. If anything, they see it as a positive.
It is Toulouse against Bradford, another physical, bruising encounter between two evenly matched teams. Certainly, it's going to showcase the very best of the Championship on Sunday evening.
Yeah, it should do. Yeah, it should. I think, you know, the last two games we played against them have been real top end, you know, real high quality games, and you know, I'm expecting the same at weekend, especially with what's at stake.
Mentioned it previously, Eamon, but it is going to be physical, it's going to be bruising, it's going to be feisty. How important is discipline going to be in this fixture?
Yeah, well, we know that was one thing that hurt us last time. We had 2 sin binnings, and Toulouse scored all their points during that period. But I don't worry about our discipline. I think the lads have really nailed that. Each week the penalty count's getting less and less for us. I think we give 6 at weekend, which is still probably too many for us, but I feel that we've really got that balance now of, because we want to be a team that shows intent in its defence and how we carry the ball, but doing it within the laws of the game. And I think most teams now have found their way with that, you know, with the new rules, etc. And you know how much the officials have to look at that, and we all understand the reasons why they're doing that. But I feel like a lot of games now, more games I've watched, they're allowed to flow, and the discipline's a lot better. You know, we don't want to be seeing 12 against 13 or 11 against 13 or 12v12. You know, and I mean that in terms of Toulouse getting people sent off as well. Like, no one wants to see that. We want a high-end, top-quality game. I mentioned it before, there's a lot at stake, so everyone wants to have a fair crack at it.
Have you highlighted what happened last time the two sides met, the 2 sin binnings, and that ultimately was where Toulouse scored the points?
Yeah, and look, they challenged us in other areas as well. We were just very desperate that day. You know, they'll really challenge us this week. Defensively, and we know how good we're going to have to be, but the boys are feeling confident with that. We did take some things out of the game. Obviously I watched it back and you kind of forget some of the things that happened during that game. We lost Ock with a hamstring and we had to tell him to stay on because Max Lehman was having a HIA at the time, so as soon as he came on we brought him off. Jordan Baldwinson played that game, did 20 minutes and couldn't go back on, and Logan Bayliss had just arrived in the country as well, so there's plenty that went against us that day, but it didn't matter, and that was my message to the group. It didn't matter. They were just determined to come away with something. Ultimately we didn't get the win, but we come away with a point.
Aribi Doro on Ben Reynolds last week, is that a good example of that controlled, you know, good balance in that sort of aggression in defence that you want to see? Yeah,
that was just all effort. That was all effort. We have a big focus on our effort areas, our kick chase, our kick pressures, and you know, Aribi did his job there. There was certainly nothing in that. It looked an aggressive contact because they both collided, obviously, but you know, his effort there was fantastic.
Sunday, once again, sees the club's whole season's work on the line. Another do-or-die game, but this one obviously a week further down the line, and you're 80 minutes away potentially from a grand final.
Yeah, we want to make sure we make it count now, and that's the main one. You know, I referenced before how the group are close, and I don't just mean in terms of the players, I mean the staff. There's a really good connection there between everyone, and we're not ready to finish yet. We don't want, you know, this week to be our last training week together, you know, and we've got a few people leaving. And we've worked extremely hard, the group has worked extremely hard to put us in this position, so, you know, making it count now is what matters.
In those regular season games, Bradford have had a win against Toulouse and a draw. Is there any psychological, any advantages you can draw from those 2 league fixtures? I know you've touched a bit about the discipline in the last game there.
No, I don't think so. We'll more look at our recent form. You know, and I even include the Halifax game in that. You know, a week or two before that, we started changing training a little bit to get us a little bit more intense and put us under pressure a little bit more. And each game I've started to see the benefits of that, even though we didn't get the result in the Halifax game. I think the way we started. So we'll look more at our recent form. Look, I just think they're in a very different place to where they were when we played, and we are also. And just with the type of game that it is, both teams will have to be at their best. So I don't think they'll buy too much into that, and we're certainly not as well. It's a different game. It's 80 minutes and it's knockout rugby.
Bradford have been here before, Eamon, when Lee Greenwood and Brian Noble were in charge last season. Can you use the experience of that game to go one better this time around?
I think we've got very similar games that we played in this year. So I remember watching that game, and I think discipline was a big one. I think we got a yellow card in that game, didn't we? And there was just a couple of key moments in that, like a one-on-one miss and a couple of ball steals, a couple of poor last plays. Their effort was fantastic, but those are huge in knockout games. You have to get those finer details kind of nailed, how you kick the ball, how you're disciplined, you know, making sure you make all your tackles. So yeah, look, I think you could probably look at that, but we'll more look at what we've done this year and the games where we've been very good, and look at what we did in those games and the games where we hurt ourselves, and you know, the lads know what that is.
Sylvan Houlays says that they feel really refreshed, refocused after earning week one of the playoffs off. Do you see that as giving Toulouse a bit of an advantage?
Oh, potentially. I see both sides of it. You know, I was really disappointed we didn't finish second, but then I remember saying to some of the staff, I think we need to play. So I think it might be an advantage for them, certainly with all the travel that they've had to do this year. I don't think a lot gets said about that. You know, it's real tough for them, that, and they've obviously managed it really well. So, you know, to finish second with all the obstacles that they have to come throughout the year is, you know, it's a huge testament to them. But I don't feel we were at the point where we needed a week off. I feel like we've been getting better by playing. So there's pros and cons to both. I think they probably wanted that week off, and for me, I felt like we needed to play. So I think it's worked well for both teams.
I only asked that question, Eamon, because from the championship coaches that I speak to regularly, a few have actually said what you said, that they'd rather play a tough game against Featherstone coming off a big performance, you know, against playoff opposition, rather than having a week off and starting cold, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think you know, you probably get a sense of where your group's at throughout the year, and there'll be certainly times where you feel like you want a week off, but again, I just feel like we needed to be playing. We want to feel battle hard, and going into these games, I think you have to be. I think the last 3 games that we've had have been tough, although one of them on the scoreboard looks really positive for us. You know, it was a tough encounter, and I think you probably need that, but there is balance going into it. So I need to make sure I'm doing my bit, and refreshing the group tonight will be intense as it always is on a Thursday. Like, we won't be pulling back on that, and then we'll sharpen our tools and be a bit fresher on Friday and enjoy the travel together.
The venue is the Stade Ernest Wallon, the biggest ground in the championship. It's, when you look at the playing dimensions, I think we've mentioned this before, and it's a bigger playing surface than Wembley. There's a lot of space for both sides to exploit on Sunday evening.
Yeah, it's a great stadium. I love it. The field's awesome. Like, we enjoy playing there, so we won't take too much into that. I want the boys to play and express themselves in attack once we've earned the right, and you know, playing at a stadium like that allows you to do that.
Does that factor in your team talk, your game plan at all?
No.
What do you make of Toulouse currently? You've kind of highlighted already that it's fair to say that the side Bradford faced in rounds 4 and 14 are totally different now. Yeah,
they are. Well, I think that, you know, their game certainly improved, as it generally does throughout the year. I feel like we're in a similar position to them. You know, they're a full-time outfit, which I don't always like mentioning, but you can see that when you're watching their games. You know, certainly to the back end of each half, they seem to go up a level, or they seem to be able to make the opposition drop a level, and they have some success around those periods of the game. So, and certainly how they start as well. They start really intense, so that's great for us. Like, we want to be doing the same. We've had the same focus, and we're going to have to do that. We're going to have to start harder than we ever have. You know, I'm confident that the boys will do that.
You've just highlighted when both sides have put a bit of fatigue and tiredness into each other. Their sort of strike players, Ryan River, Ollie Asholbot, you know, they do find that space, and if they do evade those tackles, they are very dangerous threats.
Yeah, and I just think it's good for us going in. Like we had a look at some of the things that we did last time against them, and it was some of the things that hurt us was someone just not getting on a kick chase, someone not quite putting kick pressure on, switching off at the opposite side of the ruck where an Ulberg will look and see space and he'll get there because he's quick and he's strong. So all those little things that really matter in the game, the things that probably the supporters don't see as much, you have to be on for 80 minutes. You cannot have a minute off. And I think that was good for us at Featherstone. We stopped for a second there, and before we knew it, I think we were 73 minutes in and it was 25-0. Just shows you that them games you have to be on for 80 or you can really hurt yourselves.
This is a big game, everyone wants to play in it. Are you going to go for a settled side, or are we going to see some changes this week, Eamon?
Well, I think rhythm's really important. And you can clearly see for large parts of our game there that the group were really well connected and had some good rhythm, so it's important you do that. There are a few question marks on some lads, so we'll be clearer tonight after training, but I'm hopeful we'll be looking very similar.
Lee Gaskell missed last week. What's the latest with him?
Yeah, again, we'll know tonight when we see him train. He did a little bit on Tuesday. We'll just see where we're at with Gaskell.
Players are clearly going to be disappointed, but when you actually look at that, Eamon, and their professionalism, not just dealing with you speaking to them at Tonga or Odsal and say, look, I'm going to go with this player over you. How important is it then that, they're still out there on the training field at Tonga, at Odsal, helping the side that you've picked to play? Yeah,
well, 17 people don't win your competition. And we spoke about that at the very start of our journey together. We're going to need everybody on board, and God, if there's a club that's probably highlighted that, it's with us, using 40 odd players through necessity. So it's got to that point now where, touch wood, we've got some health within the building, and it's good. We've got some competition for places. I had some conversations with some lads, and it really shocked me just the response to that. JD's a perfect example of that. He's done a great job for us all year, played out of position, always done his best for the club, for the team and his teammates, and his attitude. I hope I'm not embarrassing him here, he probably won't see this anyway, but was just brilliant. He just said, no, it's about helping the team. And when I've seen then the opposition practice against us, they're really buying into what we're trying to do. So they're good pros, these boys. They care about each other, and they all want to be part of it. And if we get to a grand final and we win the grand final, they're certainly part of it. So I've just been really pleased with the response from the non-players.
When I spoke to Michael Lawrence after the Featherstone game, focusing on this weekend's fixture against Toulouse, he genuinely believes something special has been built, is being built into next season. And more importantly, he has that genuine self-belief in himself and his teammates that they can go to Toulouse and feature in the grand final a week on Sunday. How important is that, when you've got your captain, your talisman, that's rubbing off on everyone?
Yeah, it is, and I get that sense from the group. What I really like about him is, and obviously what they're not going to say in the public or to the media, is that they all know they can be better. I loved after the game how filthy they were, that they conceded 2 late tries, because they know how important that's going to be going into the semi-finals and finals. So what I like about that is they've got that element of confidence, but they're also humble, and they know that we need to be better, and that's what I really like about them. They're not getting too excited. They know how good they're going to have to be, and I think that's probably driving our standards in training and on the field as well when you see us play.
You mentioned after Sunday's game at Barcard against Featherstone about the big Bradford support. You kind of mentioned in your post-match interview, Eamon, a bit of a rallying cry, rallying call. Well, 2 flights from Stansted to Toulouse are fully booked up. We don't know whether or not that's full of Bradford fans, but suspect a high percentage of those seats will be Bradford fans. It looks like you're going to have the Bradford Army out in force in Toulouse to back you and the boys on Sunday.
Yeah, brilliant. A huge thank you to them on behalf of myself, the club and the boys. It's going to be really important. Last time I went there, I couldn't believe it. Just the noise that came from the stand, it almost felt like a home game. And then we got to spend some time with them after the game as well, which I thought was really good. You don't always get the ability to do that. So, especially in today's climate, really grateful that they've put their hands in their pockets and they're coming to support the boys. I know the club have done a great job in terms of streaming the game here, which I think is fantastic. So this place will be buzzing as well. So No, it's brilliant from them, and you know, to be fair, it's not a surprise with how they've travelled with us this year, especially during the times that were pretty tough and disappointing. You know, they stuck by us, so hopefully we can play our part in making sure it's a great trip for them.
What would it mean to you and the players to reward those fans with a grand final trip next Sunday?
Yeah, it'd be great. I think, you know, no disrespect, but bigger picture, we're not ready to finish as a group. You know, so there's lots of contributing factors. We want to make sure that, you know, you can look beyond that. Lads want to be playing in front of the families in a grand final. You know, we don't want to be, you know, reviewing and getting together next year and going, oh well, we made it to the semi-final. We want to make sure we go one better. I'm fully confident if we can get there, we can do the job as well. So, you know, huge obstacle in front of us at the moment. But as I said before, we're in a good spot at the minute as a group, which I think is really important. We've got the balance between being confident and knowing that we've got a job to do.
Just finally, Eamon, where does this game on Sunday sit with you personally? Obviously, you've been assistant to Steve McNamara, involved in grand finals, but you know, big semi-final showdown, back on familiar territory in the south of France. Where does this one sit with you?
Yeah, you know, I've not had that much time to think about it because I've been fully on board in trying to prep the team. But I think these are ones that you probably reflect on when the year's over. Immensely proud, but proud of my players, proud of my staff for giving us the ability to put ourselves in this position. But I'm not totally satisfied yet. I feel like we can do it, and you know, I'll probably sit with a beer at the end of the year and reflect on it, and probably have a bit of a better understanding of how I'm feeling. But very much just focused on getting the job done at the minute, and not probably looking at the outside noise or listening to that. And again, we just have to be focused. We've got a job to do. You know, look, I'd be lying to you if I didn't say I was happy. I'm really proud, but we don't want to be done yet.